I would like to first introduce the three vice chairmen of Berkshire Hathaway. I'll tell you just a little bit about them, and then I'll have a mild surprise for you at the end, perhaps. On my left is Charlie Munger, and I met Charlie 62 years ago. He was practicing law in Los Angeles. He was building a house at that time a few miles from here, and 62 years later, he's still living in the same house. Now, that was kind of interesting because I was buying a house just a few months before, 62 years ago, and I'm still living in the same house. So you've got a couple of fairly peculiar guys, just to start with, in terms of their love affair with their homes. And Charlie and I hit it off immediately, and I would say he's probably the vice chairman in charge of culture, among other things. But if I ever want to get questions about where true north is, I talk to Charlie, and he has been an enormous help. He's done it with a lot fewer hours and a lot less talking and everything than I have, but he's contributed in an incredible way to Berkshire. So Charlie's been out here in Los Angeles for 60 plus years. On my right, your left, I have the vice chairman in charge of everything except insurance and investments, Greg Abel. Greg was born and raised in Edmonton, Alberta. He's Canadian, plays hockey. His 8-year-old plays hockey. And he came to the United States sometime after he graduated from college in Canada. And he is in charge of a business which has well over $150 billion in sales and employs more than 250,000, probably 275,000 people, and does a much better job at doing that than I was doing previously. And on my far left, you're right. We have Ajit Jain, and Ajit was born and raised in India, and graduated from college there. And I met Ajit on a Saturday in 1986, and I'd been in the insurance business. Berkshire had been in the insurance business for quite a while. And I was kind of stumbling around in various ways. And Ajit came to the office, and Saturday I was opening the mail. And I said, how much do you know about insurance? And he said, nothing. And I said, well, nobody's perfect, and let's talk about it some. And by the end of the morning, I knew I had somebody that was going to build a great insurance business. And starting from that point, this improbable little company in Omaha became the largest property casualty company in the world in terms of net worth. It writes risks occasionally in a 24-hour period that other companies simply couldn't take on themselves. They'd have to assemble other people. It would take them a long time to come to a decision. That was very important at various times in the past. It's not so important now. But he's built an incredible, the world's leading property casualty insurance company. So here we have Charlie from LA, 60-some years. We've got Greg from Canada. We've got Ajit from India. And the one thing in common that these three fellows have, aside from working for Berkshire and doing a sensational job, the one thing in common is that at one time or another, for some extended period, they lived within a mile of me in Omaha, Nebraska. And Charlie, in 1934, moved about 100 yards away from where I now live and went through high school, eventually went in the service, and knows the neighborhood as well as I do. went to the same grade school my kids went to and so on. Greg spent significant time in living in Omaha, lived about 5 or 6 blocks from me, and now lives in Des Moines. And Ajit was in Omaha, about a mile away for a couple of years. So we started in very different places and sort of came together and now go our separate ways, but it's all worked very well.